Here is another of the kind of first-tier classics from Victory Games. I took a look at Vietnam earlier. I won't be taking a look at the Civil War just because I don't have an unpunched copy of that. The copy that I bought was punched. And you can find copies of the Civil War just about anywhere, for 10 to 20 bucks for a decent player's copy. Maybe a little bit more if you want to find an unpunched copy, but one of those games from that era of war game publishing when you could go into a Sears or a Kmart or any place like that and buy these games off the shelves. They were mass produced, mass marketed. No longer the case anymore. Now you almost exclusively have to buy your war games online, or you may be one of the few people in the country or the world as it is that actually has a store that stocks war games on the shelf. Pretty rare, even here in Indianapolis, which is the home of Gen Con and has a very vibrant and active tabletop gaming community. There are plenty of great game stores. None of them sell war games in any significant amount. You might find a copy of Twilight Struggle or something, maybe Commands and Colors Ancients on the shelves, but nothing more than that. So even in high urban population areas with a good selection of gaming stores, you're still going to find yourself ordering war games online. So the Civil War, easily available. Vietnam and the Korean War, a little bit less so. Korean War is probably the most expensive of those three titles. Vietnam is another one you can usually find for a pretty decent price, even unpunched copies. I think I found mine for $40 or somewhere between $40 and $50, I think. And same for Korean War. I think I paid about $50 or $55 for the Korean War. So they're a little bit harder to find if you want them unpunched. Punched, you can usually find them for decent prices. They are plentiful in the secondary market. My copy here of the Korean War is not as in good a shape as Vietnam. As I pointed out in my Vietnam video, the Vietnam box is virtually pristine. It looks brand new. Probably the nicest looking, best shape used game box I have in my entire collection. So just got lucky on that one. Usually, even unpunched games a lot of times will be, where the contents are pristine. The box, 30 years of moving around from place to place, the boxes will be in rough shape. So this one, about typical for most of the Victory Games I've been able to find. Got some shelf wear on it, a little bit of an indentation there in the top corner. It's seen its share of moving around over the years, but in pretty decent shape considering. No blown corners or anything like that. The Victory Games box were just like Avalon Hill bookcase boxes, which were good and good sturdy boxes. So let's take a look inside, and you got the famous picture of Hunter S. Thompson here on the cover, smoking his corncob pipe. Oh, I'm sorry, that's General Douglas MacArthur on the cover there. That's right, he was the one that was in Korea, not the good doctor. We'll take a look inside. Same cover, or same artwork on the cover of the rules. And I will set the camera down here on the tripod to page through the rules. And this rule book in pretty good shape, a bit thicker than the Vietnam rules. It's like 52 pages. I think Vietnam had 48 pages. But again, in this one, you are looking at not a ton of pages of actual rules before you get to... So you get 26 pages of actual rules there before you get to the charts and tables insert. And much like Vietnam, this puts everything, Korean and UN player charts and tables. These are all stuck in the middle of the book, so you gotta pop them out of there if you don't want to have to flip through the rule book. And in fact, with with charts for each nationality in the game. You're not going to be able to leave them in there and just pass the rulebook back and forth. You're pretty much going to have to pop those out. Or, as I usually do, I will scan them and print them out on cardstock. But the rules go up to 26 pages. You get all those charts in there. And then on page 27, oh, that's interesting. I didn't actually count pages on the charts and tables. It goes right from 26 to 27. So I guess I think I counted the charts and tables as pages in the Vietnam overview, but they don't actually do that. So 26 pages of rules, and then you're into the scenario sections, which are pretty detailed. There's a lot of scenarios in here. And then, advanced game rules. Okay, so you got some more rules then. Got a basic game and advanced. So, got that's on page 34 to 52. So almost another 20 pages of advanced rules. Well, maybe I should keep looking through the book before shooting my mouth off. Advanced game scenarios. Then, starting on page 41, we got designer notes, historical coverage, which I always really like. And then looks like a nice detailed example of play. Wow, all kinds of articles, Korean culture and geography. Lots of good stuff in the rulebook, so packed full of goodies. Counter sheets. These are fairly typical counter sheets for Victor games at the time. This was 86, I think. And again, I talked a little bit about this in the Vietnam video. Decent enough counters, nothing spectacular. They're the brown core counters that can tend to get kind of crumbly, and they'll have a lot of dust on them as you trim them out of the counter sheets, which can be a little irritating. I think there are only 2 counter sheets here at the U.S. on the first sheet, and then you got some, I guess, UN forces here, neutral markers, and communist Chinese. So, and these counters, like I said in the Vietnam video, they punch out just fine, and they'll clip just fine. But you can see every other counter or certain counters have little side nibs on them there, which with just a little care with a rotary cutter or an X-Acto knife, you can trim off pretty easily. And then looks like we've got maps, which I'll unfold in a minute, and some actual player aid cards here. There's one for the UN, single-sided, so there's actually a player aid card there. Rare for these games, since most of the player aid charts were loaded into the manual. Feedback card, and an order form here in case you want to order some Victor games. And then a counter tray in the box. Again, all fairly common for this era. Let's take a look at the map. Alright, much like with Vietnam, you've got a sort of vertical map married up to a horizontal map. And also, like Vietnam and many games of the era, you got nice charts and tables all over the map. Probably another reason I bet a lot of these charts are the ones that are in the manual. So maybe if you don't want to destroy your manual, you can probably get away with all the charts that you need actually on the map. Like most Victory Games maps, the colors are fairly kind of bright and not always the most attractive. The design of the map itself, again, very functional, but not always very aesthetically pleasing. But certainly gets the job done, and I would say it's not unattractive, very functional, but maybe not quite the aesthetic value that the old Redmond-Simonson maps from SPI used to have, which were sort of this perfect combination of functionality and aesthetic look to them. So, but these get the job done, and like most Victory Games maps, they are on good heavy paper. You'll definitely want to use plexi with these because they can that heavier paper tends to pooch pretty good. So unless you've significantly backfolded your maps, and maybe even then, you may have some trouble keeping your counters from your counter stacks from tipping over or what have you. So also, like Vietnam, I have not played this game, but I have heard many good things about it. Possibly that it's the best of the three first tier Victory Games classics: the Civil War, Vietnam, and Korean War. I've only played the Civil War. In my opinion, that is one of the finest strategic level Civil War games ever made. So people tend to believe that this one, though, is one of the finest, I guess, operational level Korean War games ever made. So, I've got that. I think I've also got up here somewhere, here it is, to try from OCS, OCS Korea, will be worth also giving a try, and that's also operational level Korea. Both of the games are very highly regarded, so I think people tend to point to one of those two games when talking about wargaming the Korean War. You've either got the Victory Games game or the OCS game, so I look forward to someday getting them both to the table.